Alright, it's time to, well, get with the thunder. Insert your ACDC joke here.
As cool and fitting as that would have been, sad.
Clank? Clank? Come on, wake up!
Yeah. What was that close up?
No, goofball. It's me, Ratchet.
What happened?
You got toasted by lightning. This place is having one heck of a storm.
Haven't you played Final Fantasy, Ratchet? Lightning is bad for robots.
Yes, and now you need to dodge 200 in a row to get a weapon. That's a Final Fantasy 10 joke, for those who don't. But yeah, the gimmick with this is that because of a thunderstorm, it's best if you don't use Clank, so Ratchet doesn't have the same mobility that he will have normally. Go on, Pedro.
But Tail, James Arnold Taylor is not in this franchise yet.
That's actually a good point.
Anyway, though, but yeah, like, as cool as it would have been to have had the AC/DC theme, ironically giving this a bit of a Guardians of the Galaxy feel before Guardians of the Galaxy was a thing, essentially, I have to thank my lucky stars that they didn't do that, because you just know nowadays, copyright would have thrown a fit at any re-releases.
See, the interesting thing about Final Fantasy X, like James Arnold Taylor has said various times that the infamous laugh is actually intended to be that way. The thing is, yes, we've seen that kind of joke a lot of times in media. The thing is, it's not that I don't understand the point of the laugh. It's just that I think the execution is the problem, because like you can take a look into a lot of animes who do the same kind of joke and they do a lot better because the writing conveys. For example, here's how I would have done it. First off, have James Arnold Taylor do his voice way less high-pitched, because he delivers it way too high-pitched to the point where it gets annoying more than funny. And have the other characters, start laughing and talk about how, Jesus Christ, Titus, is that your laugh or something like that? So to add to more punch to the joke, because all they do is have...
I think Luck actually does a comment to that,
no,
I don't remember what he exactly said.
I'll take a look real quick.
Okay, I want to say, my issue isn't that people make fun of the laugh, since, again, that is kind of the point of the laugh, but that is also part of the problem. The problem is when people do poke at the laugh, they are more often than not taking it completely out of context and just saying, oh wow, the acting's bad, without acknowledging the fact that the laugh is supposed to be awkward.
Again, here's a better constructive, but whatever it may be, criticism on the matter. It's actually very simple, because the context of the laugh is not that much complex, Simply put, Yuna is very afraid of her situation, and Tidus tries to cheer her up with the idea that, a state of laughter, even laughing in the face of danger, is at its core a silly thing. Here's the big thing that a lot of people still don't get to this day. Tidus is cringe. Like, a lot. So, no matter what kind of inspirational quote I get from the guy, I only want him to shut up.
No, here's the thing. And yes, by the way, I'm looking at the scene right now. No, Waka, it's literally just Yuna and Titus. I'm looking at the scene right now. See, the thing is, no, I understand the context. Trust me, I played the game back in the day. It's not, but the thing is, okay, here's the thing. Like I said, make it less high-pitched. Second, like I said, have the other characters, contribute by starting laughing their own, like laughing at how ridiculous Tidus sounds. Like, again, to punctuate the joke better. Instead, we literally have like a full minute of screen time of just Tidus laughing, like with nothing else going on other than just him laughing. And then, as if somehow the writers realized this, they even have Yuna say, "You probably shouldn't laugh anymore." I feel like it would have been better if Yuna instead said, that's exactly, they would have been, the point of the laugh would have made a lot better and create a good bonding between the two of them if Yuna actually liked his laugh instead. By having Yuna point out that his laugh is cringe, doesn't that kind of isn't that counterproductive to the point of the scene?
Also,
I think the point of the scene was more so that he was cheering her up, which
like
did
you just said,
technically accomplish.
Do we know what the phrase that Yuna says instead in the Japanese script? Because Ten has its own infamous set of things that were changing the localization.
That is true, but I don't know what it is. But it is.
Again, it's a simple phrase. I'm pretty sure it's not that much different, especially for that kind of context. But just to be safe.
Brando didn't bring up anything in his review.
The only thing that everybody knows right now is the infamous last thing that Yuna says to Tidus at the end, and that's a can of worms for another time because we.
That's the thing too. That's the thing too. As Brando showed, the Japanese audiences actually prefer the Western version of that line. So what weapon is this, Teo?
Congratulations.
The more foray. Okay, this is actually a staple of the entire franchise. While not the same weapon for each game, one thing that this franchise delects itself into doing, transforming things into other things. It gets very disturbing, but it's always played for comedy. Essentially, you point this thing at an enemy, no matter if mechanical or biological. A bar has to fill up, and when it's full, the enemy is transformed into, in this case, if they're concerned, in this case it's a sheep, but it's always like a different animal, no sensation and everything. It's very old school and probably a Diablo reference, because there was some tomfoolery that you could have done in those games that is has a similar effect. And that will actually be a weapon that stays through the rest of the franchise. Each title in the series has its own morphing, weapon dedicated to it, and I understand that it's pretty fun.
Brando went out of his way to ask Japanese people about this. Some people have played the game, some people have. Like, he asked both. Like, he asked people who have played the game and people who haven't played the game. Explain to those people who haven't played the game. He explained the full context and the main point. A lot of people mention, you can't have them say "I love you" because Japanese people express affections differently than us. To which Brando said, "Well, here's the thing. That depends on the person. Japanese people are not a monolith. They don't all think the same and act the same. That's the first thing right there." And second, again, it's one of those things. The argument that a lot of people have made, including Brando, is that the death of the lover, what better time there is than to bring out the big "I love you."
I think Wibbs doesn't have the context, just to mention. To limit the spoilers, Wibbs, Tidus is, has basically the knowledge that he most likely will die, so as to say one last thing to Yuna. In the Japanese version, he says, see you. Thank you, there you go. But for the English script, instead, they actually confirm the relationship by saying "I love you." It is actually a point of contention for all people.
Forgot the entire game. The Tidus and Yuna have a love story. Like, there's even like a big romantic kissing scene in the lake with
drowning.
So sounds to me a bit weird that after all that they just default to thanking.
Here's the thing outside of personal preference, Lives. I don't think it really matters. Sure, in one way or another, as in, I don't care the fact that it's said in one version or another outside of, willing of the author, but at the same time, the game has done a decent enough job to convince me of the love story that they could have not said "I love you" to each other, and I will still believe they do.
Oh, sure, that is true, but at the same, well, not for me personally, I personally don't care for the romance in that game, but my basic point is that for the intent, I think it's one of those things where, considering this is meant to be, from a writer's standpoint, I personally think, considering it's literally a person saying goodbye to a loved one that is about to supposedly die and never see them again, I think if anything, if there ever was a time, even in a Japanese context, to bust out the "love you" line, it would be this one. Obviously,
I know that it's a point of contention that's even not for the game, as in the idea of what you just said about having a line that in a product, that it's a bit universal, because something very similar happened in the making of Star Wars Episode 5, believe it or not. Quark, what are you doing here?
Come on, Quark, I know it's you.
The name's Steve. Pleased to meet you.
Look, Steve, I need to know where Drek is before it's too late.
Did you say too late? Sir,
there are some who call me
too late to acquire the
Tim.
In the long line of quality products from Gadgetron. I have for you, today only, the Gadgetron.
It would seem that Quark has fallen on hard times. Figuratively and literally.
No, it's Steve, Joe.
Yeah, this is Steve. Like he I know he looks a lot like Captain Quark, but that's a common misconception.
At least put up a pair of fake mustaches, you know.
Don't worry, Joe. He gets that a lot about looking a lot like Captain Quark. Jesus Christ!
To his eyes.
Yeah, that's
right. The irises disappeared.
I don't remember that happening in the PS2 version. I'll have to look again, I guess. But
anyway, what we got by paying it, of course, is the Gadgetron PDA, which essentially allows us to, you know, not having to rely to a shop to buy ammunition. The problem is that they cost more, so you're basically on a losing side of money, or both, basically, if you're doing that.
It reminds me of in Crash Tag Team Racing, you can input a cheat code to switch Crash's model from his Western one to his Japanese chibi form. The issue is when you switch back to the Western one, his eyes are suddenly missing. Like it's just a white void.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Great bargains for you today.
I can understand. Honestly, on the assumption that of what we're gonna get on the PS4 and PS5 regarding the Ratchet game, yeah, like I'm willing to sacrifice the widescreen if it means we get a more polished version.
Anyways, also showcased before this more foray. Now I get a confirmation transform things into chicken. You'll be able to see more, you know, as the parts go on. But
exactly, but
to get quickly, again, like I said, the final thing that Han Solo has to say to Leia before being carbonated, he says, like she says, "I love you," and he in response, you know, to her, says, "I know." If I recall correctly, the thing is that
I can explain that. Because they explained it. Like, it was originally meant to be "I love you too."
Yeah, but it was the idea is that it was to be in a more Bruce Campbell-esque way. You say, "Yeah, babe, but don't worry," like I know, in a more smug kind of attitude. But it was changed last minute to be in a more, you know, not dramatic way, but something similar to emphasize a bit more genuinity.
I can basically, it's a very common thing that's in the Empire of Dreams documentary in detail. What happened was they were going through the original script. And Irvin Kershner, the director, he didn't like any of the takes they were making. Nothing satisfied him. He was like, I don't know, there's just something missing. It's just no. So what happened was Irvin told to Harrison Ford, okay, you know what, Harrison? Don't think about it. Just don't think about it. Just basically just allowed Harrison to try to contribute to see what he thinks. Maybe try to add something to the scene that he thought was needed. So what happened was, based on his knowledge of the character, Harrison said, I know, which in Irvin Kershner's reaction to that improv from Harrison Ford was, yeah, that's a good line, that's Han Solo. There you go. So, again, it's an excellent example of how actors can be creative and add to the scene as well. It's something that even the screenwriters couldn't get through.
Especially because there's a quote that, I'm gonna you just say this because, again, I don't want to devolve this into talking too much about Star Wars, but there's a quote that already arrives at the point of developing of New Hope from Harrison Ford himself that says towards George Lucas, George, you can type his shit, but you sure as hell can say it.
Exactly.
Oh, by the way, Jova, here's some Sonic-inspired type of chasing.
Yep.
So something tells me that someone who made the Unleashed actually. Well, okay, this type of cheat was also in Sonic 06, but someone got inspired by this.
The grind rail, yeah.
But
and you know, credits of writers, you know, some things will just come more naturally when they're actually done, instead of, you know, just written, essentially.
The point of all of this to say, you know, that I think the whole spiel about, writing about someone saying I love you as last declaration, it might not be as obvious as we think, not in a sense of, not feeling logical, but with all the creative people feeling like it's not, as easy to fit as one may think. I don't know.
Are you okay?
That said, bringing it back to the Final Fantasy talk, apparently what Brando found is that a lot of Japanese players actually preferred how the English
like I said,
covered it.
personally, I don't care in either ways. Again, outside of the my whole argument about, vision of the offer and everything,
Go for half price. Well, that's about it for me.
Thanks.
Quit your complaining. I gave you a great deal. Jeez!
Afraid to go out at night? Afraid to go out during the day? Just plain afraid? Then you need this!
Anyway, outside of, the vision of the offer and everything, again, I don't particularly care either way, because as much as, I don't like characters like Tidus, the game has done a decent enough job to convince me about the love story, so they could literally say something extremely stupid, I would believe that anyway, about the fact that they still love each other.
Like one particular thing that I really, and probably one of the big reasons why the script in that game is so good. Koji Fox talked about how during the production of Final Fantasy 16, because he was translating the script right alongside as Mahito was writing it, right? And according to Koji Fox in the interviews before the game released, every time Koji thought of something that should be changed for the sake of adapting for an English audience for the sake of conveying the meaning better, he would consult with Mahito himself about the change specifically. And according to Koji Fox, some of the changed lines that Koji Fox came up with, Mahito actually thought, that line is actually better than mine. I'll put that in my script as well.
Well, I guess Quark didn't eliminate them.
How observant of you.
Thank you, sir.
Now, if you were only so diligent in doing your own job!
Yes, sir.
Since our new planet is nearly finished, we need a plan to remove the world that is occupying our selected orbit. This time, it must be absolutely foolproof. Time is wasting.
I got some great bargains.
Anyway, there you go. We're finally on the planet where Clank was conceived. Not necessarily still the native part of a blog, but one where they built part of their offensive force. And some of their robots, like the one we just killed, are not particularly that destructive. But in order to actually progress further, we will need hologuys, something that can transform, Ratchet into another being that, provides a stealth section. So we cannot go there just yet.
Sorry, Clank, we might have to kill some of your brothers.
I'm pretty sure he doesn't care.
Clank's literally built different.
It's kind of similar. It also depends on how the writer, like some writers can be flexible. about things like with like remember, like after the success of the first game in the West rather than its failure in Japan, the English terms for the mythology and all the stuff that Hollywood came up with, they became the canon ones in comparison to the Japanese ones. It's why in No Kuni 2 the English script is the default one rather than the Japanese one. So.
And while the localization of Ace Attorney is kind of its own world, apparently Capcom really liked that localization, especially since stuff like the musical takes place in America and even uses the American names instead of the original Japanese names.
It also have a complete gender band cast anyway.
It's an all-female cast, but the characters are still their proper genders.
So it's operating on old-school theater rules, okay.
I guess so.
Pretty much. Like, I mean, it's like the cast members are female, but the characters are still their proper genders.
You have to understand, Rova, that I'm not as particularly versed in theater plays as you might be, or even, Pedro and Shiroi are, so...
Was it pi over infinity, or...
Hey! You need help fixing that thing?
Actually, I'm trying to destroy it.
Why?
I was contracted to re-engineer my enlarging machine to create huge, heavily armed mechs.
So that's where those mechs came from.
Precisely. Had I known Drek was behind this, I never would have done it.
Is there anything...
Good to know you're an ethical scientist.
If you volunteer to be enlarged, you may be able to stop those mechs long enough for me to sabotage this machine.
And then you will change me back?
I've never tried that, but in theory...
Why would you want to be small again? Well, okay, to be fair, him being small has helped out on the journey a lot.
So here's another recurring thing for the franchise. Not all the time, but for the most part, Clank becoming giant, and now the roles are reversed, where Ratchet has to be on his back. So, you spend basically tracking back this portion of the level that you just went through, completely pulverizing everything.
Yeah.
Hey Jova, it's like the Giga Chum episode of Megamind rules.
Yes, except, not stupid.
Yeah. I'm not even kidding you, Tail. There's literally an episode in the new Megamind show where, I'm not kidding you, you remember Minion from the movie? He creates clones of himself, and then the clones merge into one gigantic Giga version, and it's such a stupid, dumb episode that makes no sense.
A stupid, dumb episode of Megamind rules? You'll have to be more specific.
I guess so.
Well, apparently even DreamWorks have realized that it was a mistake since, well, again, still technically rumor mill, but apparently it's looking like there's a theatrical sequel in the makes. My only question is, are they going to acknowledge rules or pretend that never happened?
Probably not. It depends on who's making it. We'll have to wait and see. As for this section, well, at least it definitely lasts more than the one in Final Fantasy 13, at least. So there's that.
Yeah.
It's less scripted at the very least.
Well done! Now just step into the machine and we'll see what happens.
Nice to have you back, I guess.
I've recalibrated the controls to allow only your specific circuit pattern.
Oh, perfect.
I don't know how to thank you two. Maybe this'll help.
Alright,
thanks.
we're all about.
No!
I know, thank you. Have an advert.
So yeah, we heard about Gadget from the entire game. Now we can actually visit one of its major headquarters and potentially get the Holo guys.
Robotic assembly lines. Attend robot parties. The Holo guys. Available only at
Somebody really is obsessed with robots.
I mean, it's the future, Jova.
You will not actually become a robot.
If I can get that thing, I'll be able to get past those robot guards.
Robots are not so easily fooled.
Ah, what's that?
What?
Yeah. No, that's the thing, Jova. In the later part of the development of Final Fantasy 13, even the Japanese side started to realize that shit was on fire, localization-wise, but by that point it was too late to course correct. So they just said, "Fuck it," and we'll try our best to fix it in the next game. Which is why 13.2 there was an actual effort to make sure the localization didn't suck.
Well, here's my thing with that idea, Pedro. It's like with Pokemon. Yeah, I get it. I get it. You're disappointed that the localization something didn't turn out very well. Okay, fine. But my sympathy for that it doesn't go very far, considering you made a shit story in the first place.
So
right, tuning for the next part where we actually get to the planet where the Gadgetron headquarters is. See ya.
See ya.
Bye.